Hi all, welcome to this video. In this video, I'm going to talk about one of the most essential life skills that you must know if you want to keep your finances in check as well as get anything that you want. That is knowing how to negotiate. Now, a quick intro about myself. I am a law student and I graduated from a premier law institute in 2021. So I know all the tips and tricks how it goes about in any negotiation. In this video, I am going to give you a 4-step plan that can be used in any negotiation when you want to get the price of an item down. So if you're planning to buy a phone, a car or even a house, then you must watch this video till the very end if you want to know all the tips and tricks. Now, negotiation is a skill that is often overlooked, but it is super important for your finances. It will help you not only when you're buying things, but also bag a bigger paycheck as well as get those extra perks at your jobs. In this video, I'm going to talk about how to negotiate the prices of an item down. Recently, I was able to save 10,000 rupees on some of the big purchases that I made, and that is huge. So these tips are practically applicable and not something that I made out of thin air. Now let's imagine a situation that you want to buy the latest phone. Now to explain how to get the best deal, I will explain the situation in 3 parts. First is before you go to the store, that is prepping for your buying journey. Second, when you're about to enter the store, and third, when you're at the store, and that is when the negotiation actually plays out. Now let's start with the first part, that is preparation. Now that you have decided to buy a phone, you need to do some research, and by research I mean thorough research. That means checking all the options, new models, old models, checking on online stores, offline stores, whether there's going to be a sale or if the production of the phone has been stopped and there might be a chance to get the phone at a decent price. Here, the goal is to gather all the information that you can get so that you can leverage it at a later point. One of the important things to remember while you are doing your research is to understand your price point. That is the price that you're willing to pay. It is very important to have that anchor, otherwise you might get lost in the whole process. I will explain this to you in the later part. Now that you have gathered all the information and you have shortlisted a store that you might want to buy the phone from. Now let's go to the second part of the process. That is you're walking the store and prepping there. Now in this stage, there are a couple of things that you must remember. First, speak to the person who has the decision-making authority. You don't want to waste your time and energy explaining your side of the equation to someone who doesn't even have the power to give you the best discounts. Now, how to recognize this decision-making authority? Well, this will be a person who knows the nitty-gritty of the products and looks like someone who has been dealing with customers for a long time. Now, once you start talking to this person, you've got to ask some important questions. For example, the future plans of the product. Suppose you want to buy an iPhone. Ask them if there's going to be a new launch soon, or if there are any other models that are going to be on sale soon. The more questions that you ask, the more information that you'll get and the more power you will have in the negotiation. One bonus tip that most of the people tend to overlook but can do wonders is making small talk with the person. You must try to build a rapport with the person and be nice in general, not hostile. You have to be someone who people would want to help, right? One underplayed tip that I would want to give you at this stage is show them that you're not the decision-making authority. This way you can avoid being the bad cop. It has worked well for me practically as people understand that I'm not the one who's asking for all these discounts or anything. I always show that I'm talking to my mom and these things are being asked by my mom. So this way people will sympathize with you and might get the price down a bit. Now comes the third stage, that is the actual negotiation, when you are in talks with the sales guy and you want to get the best price but he's not budging. So far what has happened is you have gathered all the information, you're talking to the authority and you have got them in confidence. Now there are a couple of steps involved in this stage. First, you would want them to give you their best price. The ball should be in their court and they should quote their price first. Remember not to quote your price first. Even if they ask you, try to subtly turn the table around and make them quote their first. The reason why this is so important is because the first number is going to be the anchor. Suppose the phone is for 80,000, but you say that you can pay 78,000. Now that will set an anchor and the best price that they will give you is 75, even when they could have gone down to 70,000. That is the Anchorage bias that plays out in every negotiation. Avoid that from playing against you by not quoting the first number. Second, ask for a price that is 20 to 30% lower than your price point. Let's not go with the iPhone option because it might or might not play out. Let's talk about a smaller purchase. Suppose your price point for any product is 1,000 rupees. Quote 700 rupees. In any negotiation, people want to feel that they have met you halfway. So by that logic, if you quote 20 to 30% lower than what you want to pay, they would think that you have actually come up from your price. That is a psychological play that you would want. Important thing to remember, do all of this conversation with a very straight face. Now, this might seem awkward at the start. You might think that the other person will think you stupid for quoting such a low number, but with practice, you'll get used to it and you will realize that this actually works. Now, let's recall what has happened till now. The ball is in their court and they have quoted their first offer. You have also given a counter and you have done it at a 20 to 30% lower rate than the price point that you would want. What will happen now is they'll come a little bit down from their offer. Now comes a very important step. Silence. Here, silence is the key. Remember when I told you to act like you're not the decision-making authority? That will work here. You have to show that the power is not in your hands. Make a call and try to show that you are talking to someone and they are not budging from their price. This will emphasize the seriousness of the situation. And the other person will understand that you're actually not the decision-making authority and going higher in the price is not in your hands. Now, after you've made the call and they have realized that you're actually not the decision-making authority, will come the final step. That is, they'll make their final offer or you'll just walk out. Now, what you have to do here will depend on how far they have actually gone down from their offer. If they're not even remotely close to your price point, you have to walk away. If they're a bit close, then persuade them to make another offer, and when they have made their second lowest offer, accept it. Now, there are some small tips that you can still apply at this stage. First, you can squeeze in some extra bucks or some freebies when you're making the payment. For example, if their lowest offer is $790, you might want to say, alright, I accept this, but let's make it round and make it $750. Or if you understand that they might budge more, then you can make it $700 also. Pull out your card while saying this dialogue and they will understand that you are serious about paying for it. You can also try to squeeze in some freebies. For example, when you're buying a car, you can ask them to give you the warranty or extend the warranty or give you car maps with the vehicle. If the second offer that they made is still not close to your price point, then you might want to walk away. But when you're walking away, you would want to leave the door open. For example, considering your price point to be 700 rupees, if they have made an offer of 850 rupees, then you would want to say something like, thank you for the offer. I can't afford this right now, but maybe I'll try next week. Now, this will leave the door open, and when you visit the next week, there is a high probability that seeing you again in their store the next week, they might actually give you a better quote. This not only keeps the air mellow, but also shows that you appreciate their generosity. The important thing to remember here is that you're not walking empty-handed. Now you have a number. What you can now do is go to other stores with this number in mind and do the negotiation with them in a much refined way. Some last extra tips that I would want to leave you with. First, don't wait for the last minute to buy things. Have time on your side. When you have time, you have power. And when you have power, you will be able to get the best price. Second, be nice and act nicely, not hostile. You would want people to want to help you. Third, practice negotiation. Nothing in life comes perfect the first time, and it will never get perfect. But you will eventually get better with time. The more you do this, the easier it will feel and the less ridiculous you will feel while asking for a lower price. Hope these tips help you. Do let me know your situations in the comments below and also suggest what other videos you would want me to make. Thank you, and I'll see you on the next video.